Is learning important for self improvement? It's a question. Is it? That's what people wonder. Yes, 100% is. It is one of the most important things. In my opinion, it is. I think if you want to succeed on self improvement, it's going to be the most, one, in my opinion, one of the most important things for you to do. Now, learning so that you learn so much and over again, and you just have complete decision paralysis and you don't do anything. Now, that's useless. Okay, yes, that very much is. So, you don't want to be doing that. But what I am saying is if you learn, so reading books, watching long form contents, tutorials, so learning enough so that you're like 80% of the way there and knowing it with like minimal effort and you're not prioritizing yourself to not do any work. And you should be more successful. So point number one is learning will make you things, it will make you do things better. So if you went to the gym and you started working out and you had no idea on any form, you just went, oh, Romanian deadlifts and started bicep curling the thing. Like, or like you started doing like lat pull downs, you're like, well, I feel it in my arm, so it must be an arm workout. I'm going to put it on my arm day with no research. Or maybe you do some research and like, well, I'm a smart man here, lats are for that. Back. We've no idea how to do it, so you start doing like bicep curls or face pulls with them or something stupid with it. Like instead of like pulling down, well, actually I've never looked in that since that. And say like bench press, instead of bench pressing like that, you start doing skull crushers with it. Like, you can see what I'm getting at here. Now, someone who knows good form from their learning, someone who knows great form, they're going to get a lot more progress than that person who has no form, awful form, aren't they? Because they're going to be like, actually, if they do RDLs, they're actually going to use their like posterior chain. If they do shoulder press, they're going to use their shoulders. Like when they do bench press, they're going to use their chest. When they do like core work, they'll actually use their core instead of some crazy stuff. If they do like back work, they'll use their back and not their arms or their triceps or something. So when you learn stuff, you're gonna do it better. Like that sounds obvious, but like learning about things will make you do them better. Point number two, learning's gonna train your mind. So you and I'm nowhere near perfect. I might make myself to be perfect. I'll be perfectly honest. That's a lot of perfect. I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm not the be all end all. I have so many things I need to work on and so many things I am working on. And that's good. But you and we probably watch way too much short form content. And that trains our body or our brain to look at something and go, let's pay attention to this for 8 seconds. And that's nine, I don't know, 8 seconds. And then ignore it. We don't really want our brain to do that. You know, when you're like in class and you're like, oh, this is the most boring shit ever. The reason it's bored is because you get too much dopamine from your TikToks, your YouTube shorts, and your reels, and your attention span's way too short. Now, you read a book for an hour and a half. A book ain't giving you much dopamine at all. Like, I got 3 books here. These are good books, like, and all that. But there's also 48 Laws of Power there. Like, they're not gonna make me feel like I'm on cocaine. They're fun, but they're not on cocaine. And they're gonna train your attention span, and that's really good. And I think learning can, point number 3 is learning can spring you into action. For me, I read the four, well, actually, I'm still currently reading the 4 Hour Work Week, but before, before reading the 4 Hour Work Week, I thought, I'm going to run a business when I'm 20. Or I thought, I can't run a business, I'm too young. Or I thought, I'm no good at business, I don't know anything, I don't have any new innovative product. After reading the 4 Hour Work Week, I'm about this close from starting like 15 companies. And you might go, why aren't you? I'm studying right now. So, give me an excuse, okay? Yeah, that is my excuse. And that's why I'm not perfect. But like, reading will spring you into action. You read about these people and you're like, I want to do that. Like, 4 Hour Work Week when it talks about getting like fulfillment to do it, and getting like other people do your work and you just promote it, you do these tests and all these things. I see that and I go, I can do that. Like that's reasonable. I don't have to like do nuclear fusion or come up with a new medicine. All I have to do is do a product slightly better. I can do that. So like reading can spring you into action or learning in general. Like if you were to watch Alex Ramosi, I need to watch it. It's a sales video. So that's on closing, but maybe I'll watch more on sales videos. Like that's gonna make me start selling things in general. So then when I start my business, I'll be sprung into action. Like, sales, easiest thing. I got that. I'm gonna go down to the garage. I'm gonna sell them on my power washing business, even though they don't even need it or they might not need it, but I'm gonna make them want it. And learning, I think, is going to make you, point number 4, learning is going to make you fun to talk with. By that I mean, when you talk to someone who reads a lot, they're really fun to talk with. Because they're not talking about, did you watch the last episode of Game of Thrones? I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I don't know if there's a recent episode. But like, have you watched Game of Thrones? Have you watched this Netflix series? Like, you play video games recently? No one. Like, maybe if you're into that, but if you're on self-improvement, you don't give a shit about that. Which means you also want friends who don't give a shit about that. Which means they will care about the books and what you're reading and your knowledge up here. When they talk, oh, I'm thinking about the gym, and like, oh, that actually uses this muscle or that muscle, and this is actually a way of training. This is how much protein usually. That's a common thing, but actually, this could have a better benefit for you. For you, my friend, this will do. You'll be so much more interesting to talk with if you know more things. And that's what reading and learning, reading, reading's my preference. Long form video, it's probably denser and probably better, but I think reading, it just stays in my mind a lot easier. And I think number 5 is learning is going to save you from bad habits. If you're like coming home and watching that short form content, not only is reading going to retrain to think longer, but reading's going to make you, or reading or anything, it's going to take your time. So if you don't have work and you read or you learn, well, you're benefiting from it. And you're not like watching YouTube or eating junk food because you're like entertained in a positive habit, which is important. I think point number 6, for some people, reading can be a meditation of sorts. You can kind of focus in on something. Your brain doesn't wander and stress as much. So you focus in on this thing, and from focusing in, your brain kind of calms down, and problems don't seem as big. Calms you down. It's always like problems further away seem bigger than they are. And then point number 7 is learning is going to make you successful. Well, how the fuck does learning make you successful? Well, number 1 point in learning will make you successful. Think of the most successful people in the world. Billionaire investors, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all these people. Jeff Bezos started Amazon as a book company. It might be a bit important, but more so, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all these guys, they read books regularly. Because books are going to give you a lot of knowledge to succeed. And then another point is when you're reading of people being successful, you envision yourself being successful. And as I talked about in As a Man Thinketh, your deepest thoughts are what kind of determines what you do in life. And when your deepest thoughts are how you're succeeding and how you're going to succeed, you're going to succeed in life, my friend. And backed up with the knowledge, the long attention spans, the hard work, you're enjoying effort more, you're more fun to talk with, so connections are going to be easier. It's going to spring you into action. You're going to do everything better. That's going to make you successful. Moving on to our 8th point. So, I love this quote. It's actually from it's a quote people quote a lot. A smart person learns from his mistakes, but a truly wise person learns from the mistakes of others. Now, the funny thing about that quote is it's from a guy who wrote a book about making honey wine. But it's a really important quote because people's mistakes and fixes, their problems and workarounds are written down in a book or in a video. They're out there. And they could be problems you're having right now. If you're like, oh man, I'm really struggling with dopamine. I'm watching too much stuff. How can I do that? There's a video out there. There's a book on it. I'm struggling with junk food. There's a video on it. There's a book on it. And maybe you're like, well, I'm not struggling with much. But you read something and you read loads of books and you go, oh, I am struggling. I didn't think I was unproductive. I read like 4 Hour Work Week and Parkinson's Law. I went from like 90 minutes homework each day to 60 minutes of a week worth of homework. Now that was one day and it's different and all these things, and maybe it was a bit rushed. The Parkinson's Law, where you always fill up the time no matter what. Like learning that, I didn't think I had a problem with productivity. I was more productive than anyone my age, and I still am. But by finding out about it, I improved myself. So I'm going to end with a quote. It's an Emery Tate quote, just to for anyone who's still unsure about the importance of learning. My unmatched perspicacity, coupled with my sheer indefatigability, makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. Sounds crazy to your head right now. Perspicacity means having a ready insight into things. Something you will do because you're going to be reading. Something you're going to have because you're going to be learning. And you're always going to have these insights. People are going to be like, oh, I have this, like, I'm really struggling with negativity. I'm like, well, maybe you can help them with that because you've learned about it. So that's the perspicacity. And then the indefatigability means incapable of being fatigued. You're going to get a long attention span from all this reading and the long-term learning. So that's going to make you feel like you can never be fatigued. Yeah. That's how I end it for you. Stay on your road to success. Keep up the journey and work hard.